Good morning, friends. We're back again to have a pre-Thanksgiving episode of Lighting the Candle, A World That Works. Interestingly enough, it's quite in our face almost every single day, the opportunities to believe that the world doesn't work. So what we're talking about is, where do we get a lifeline from or a phone a friend or that sort of thing in terms of empowerment? So if you're a little bit stuck and you really would rather be somewhere in the United States other than where you are right now with about 100 relatives and all of that sort of thing, or even in your own town, getting family and friends together in groups that actually are memorable occasions, how do you get access to that empowerment over the next, I don't know, week to month to 2 months? I will just tell you, I've heard from my hairdresser yesterday that she's shutting down for 8 weeks. She will not see any more people after this Friday because her family, who works in the hospital community, is very concerned about the rapidity of new cases, the number of people that are actually being checked into the hospital, if you will. So now all of that is kind of like a background, plus everything else that's going on in your life, all the things that are working and not working. We're here to see if we can cast a lifeline with a lifesaver on the end of it out there for you to grab onto in the next half hour. And this is all about you. We are here for you. So again, I'm Bill Carell, and my guest hosts who are on every single week are Ken Caputo and Lisa Sheehan. So I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourself in a little bit more depth, but most folks that have been listening to us know who we are. And with that said, I'd like to talk a little bit today about gratitude, about Thanksgiving, appreciation, and what, sort of physical feelings those things access in you when you think about those terms or say them out loud. Make sense?
Certainly.
Yep.
All right, who'd like to go first?
Well, I'll start since I haven't been here, I guess. Lisa Sheehan. Currently, my side gig is a little magazine called Epic, Empowering People in Inspiring Community, and it's full of resources for health and wellness and well-being, which is a good place to turn for what we're talking about as well. But also, as far as gratitude goes, of course, that's on everybody's tip of everybody's tongue. A lot of Zoom calls I've been on have been talking about gratitude, but I think this year especially, it has put a spotlight on things that you are grateful for, because they're so abundantly clear when you have it taken away from you what is important.
Mm-hmm.
So I think gratitude is going to go a long way this Thanksgiving, even though it's going to look different. I mean, for us, my mother has COPD, so she can't meet anybody outside. So we're all making side dishes and meeting at a park outside on Thursday morning, and then going home to cook our respective meals and Zoom afterwards. So, I mean, I'm grateful we can even do that, but it makes it that much more important for when we can return to actually meeting and together in any size, family, community.
Can you just describe how that makes you feel a little bit, Lisa? Like the smile that just came out there. How does that make you feel thinking about the future that you just created for 2 days from now?
Well, it's funny because I was listening to a program on Sunday. Well, it was a live webinar, but and he explained hope as a memory from the future, which is kind of a really cool way to look at it. So that's how, I mean, that put it into huge perspective for me, so that not only is hope alive, but that the future of what we're dreaming of already exists. So to take that into your mind, I mean, helps me a lot to just think about things that will be in my mind.
Letting that soak in for a second. It's a great kickoff. Thank you. Ken?
Yeah, gratitude is an interesting thing. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to introduce myself, aren't I? I always forget that part. I'm Ken Caputo, founder of Quester's Way. And it's, I guess what Quester's Way is about is kind of relevant to this. It's really three things. A place where people can experience meaningful human connection, where we encourage and promote an empowered sense of learning, the ability to learn in an empowered way. And the other part is our tagline is Best Day Ever, which is really about noticing the joy that's present in the moment you are currently experiencing. And it's always there. Sometimes it's just very, very difficult to see, So we try to create an environment where people can come in and just feel like today's the only day you get. So why not at least have the option of allowing it to be your best day ever, and then do it again and again and again, as many times as you can until your time is done. So anyway, but yeah, Lisa, what you're saying, it's, I think gratitude is an interesting thing. I think it deepens if you have a comparison and contrast, so like personally, Thanksgiving for me will just be Zoom and I'm actually going to get takeout so that I can enjoy not cooking because to me, that's something I will be grateful for, is not cooking. But I'm also doing a 24-hour fast. So I'm going to stop eating tomorrow at 3. And then I'll break my fast with Thanksgiving dinner, and Zoom with my family, who are also just, basically taking this seriously enough to isolate and, stay within their small family units. And it just feels like remembering what it's like to be hungry, before being able to do something about that, and thinking about all the people who can't, who are basically, if they even celebrate Thanksgiving, which a lot of the planet does not, they're just going to be hungry. It's going to be a Thursday in November and they're not going to be able to eat. And, so in a small way, just not eating to recognize that. And then there's a couple of charities that I'll donate to, one that I can never remember the name of it, but it's like Action Food. They bring meals to the world, and then Charity Water, which is helping to bring clean water to everyone. So I'm grateful for having a roof over my head and being able to eat tomorrow and not have to cook it. And yeah.
And how does that make you feel?
It's honestly nothing special. It's just, it's not new. It's just I don't know, just living life intentionally. And, it's nothing to be proud of or that. I don't know. It's interesting. Like, hope for me is a dangerous thing, because you can start having attachments to outcomes, and and when you have an expectation that something's going to go a certain way, that can leave you in a difficult place. So instead, it's just, I don't know. I'm planning to fast for 24 hours. Maybe I won't make it. And if I don't, I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm going to be grateful that I can eat 22 hours in, or 20, it's, so I don't know. It's, I don't really have a good answer for how it makes me feel, other than just connected to, as just the being human. I guess that's how it makes me feel. It makes me feel connected to being human, in all its permutations. Sorry, I'm a little philosophical today, I guess.
Well, you know what? I'm actually asking for a physical experience of that. And what I know about you, and watching as you were thinking through the language that you would describe what this is, I know you're one of the most intentional people that I've ever met. You are constantly taking reference and inventory of what's going on right now, as compared to your intention of that this moment is the only moment you're ever going to get. So best day, best moment, best instant ever, that sort of thing. And you and I both know that is subject to failure, on launch. There just isn't any way that you can only experience, being in the presence and noticing the joy. However, it's an anchor. It allows you to come back to that intention, after something has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I really completely love how the word hope lands differently with different people.
Oh, yeah.
My mother, she actually was raised kind of agnostic. They didn't go to church much, before she met my dad, and my dad was a Roman Catholic. And so, of course, she wanted to get married in the Catholic Church. And let's fast forward. They did that. She became a very devout Catholic. She was over the top and 150% on everything that she did. And so, therefore, she was constantly praying for hope. She was constantly looking for sermons on Sunday that had something to do with hope. And the best that she could describe it to me was better than this. So it was referencing a set of circumstances that were foremost in her mind, that hope was going to bring something that would bring her a better experience. And that was an appropriate way for a woman who was born in 1936 to approach life. That there's always something better than this, isn't there? No matter how good this is. And so a child of the Depression, is going to have a different experience of any now than somebody who was raised in an environment where they never had to go looking for shoes or food or a roof over their head. So what's interesting to me is I've actually done a lot of work, ontological work, and the word hope is so powerful in that it points at something that is yet undistinguished. The word hope is allowing for an undistinguished possibility to come in and manifest. And then when it does, aha, that's what I was hoping for. Or no, it's not here yet, in terms of those types of conversations. So I love the idea that memory, that hope is a future memory. And I've heard so many different accesses to what you're building, the world that you're creating in the present, because you and I both know this second is all we get. We talk about tomorrow as if there is one. It ain't never coming. Tomorrow will always be a day away, right? So every moment that we've got right now is in preparation for an action to be taken that will have to be taken in whatever present time that is. So where does hope take place? Hope takes place in your thinking and your speaking. Hope takes place in your enrollment of other people, of what life looks like when you're grateful for an outcome that's not yet here. Hope is this wonderful land where all problems are resolved, and for a moment, it's possible to completely exhale and feel that wave, of goosebumps and whatever it is that goes over your entire body. Just try exhaling one time and then tell me how that feels. All pressure gone, all worry gone. It provides an outcome after which there's this experience of possibly nothing, or being able to actively notice the joy. All those things. It can definitely be anything that you want it to be. So in terms of being grateful for something, there's a kind of an interesting concept. And half of the concept is, of course, I'm grateful for what I have. But why not also be grateful for what I don't have? Why not be grateful for every place in life where failure has occurred, where my intentions were disrupted and it didn't, the outcomes did not come as I had expected, intended, worked for, and in many cases, as you like to say, Ken, we're very much attached to. And thank God for that. Again, had I not failed the University of Colorado and come back to Connecticut, I wouldn't have met my wife of going on 45 years. I would not have my two beautiful daughters and my beautiful son-in-laws. And I wouldn't have my absolutely amazing two grandsons, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking you, that was not something that was going to happen anyway. I submit to you. So in terms of being grateful for what we have, and also flipping the script, to the opposite side, being grateful for what we don't have, I've never heard people really get on board with really yakking it up over being grateful for what they don't have. However, I offer you the next couple of minutes, if you'd like, to just kind of take a look and see if there's something that you're grateful that you don't have.
Thich Nhat Hanh calls that the non-toothache.
Yeah.
Just being grateful for the fact that we don't think about it. You don't think about a toothache until you have one, but being grateful for the fact that you don't have one, is an interesting perspective. And I also wonder about the difference between hope and faith, like having faith that things, work out in a way that in the end, if you're looking for it, can be beneficial. Like what you just said. I mean, you could have hoped that it was going to work out when you left Colorado, or you could have faith in the fact that you will navigate in a way to create a design to your life that will let you find joy in whatever does happen, So actually, can I share a Thanksgiving story from 2016?
Would you please?
Because Thanksgiving is actually is one of the few holidays that growing up, my whole family got together for. It was like the big holiday. So it was something we really looked forward to and enjoyed. And 2016, I went for a run in the morning, Thanksgiving morning. It was beautiful. And with my dog, with Gracie, who's passed on, and went over the top of her and landed on the top of my shoulder and blew out my AC. So it was a grade 3 tear. So you probably even see the little bump right there. Tore all the ligaments. So my arm basically detached, collarbone springs up. So I spent Thanksgiving in the emergency room in an incredible amount of pain. When I finally got home, I had no food. So, because I planned on going to my family's. So Thanksgiving was stale mac and cheese. There was one box left. and just a couple of phone calls to, my family and stuff, just to check in with them and, that kind of thing. But it was an interesting thing because, it increased the amount of gratitude I have for that holiday when it was just suddenly stripped away, and not only that, I was dealing with the fact that I had no idea, I've been an athlete my whole life and I didn't know if my right arm would ever work the same again. So, it wasn't just, I lost the holiday, I lost a lot physically and, it was really scary, but yeah, so like you said, you don't know what life's going to throw at you. But you do know, you can practice ways to be able to respond effectively on the other side of it and find the gratitude, even in crappy situations like that,
Yes. Mom always said crappy is as crappy does, right?
Yeah.
Lisa, your eyes were moving rapidly. I could see something happening out in front of your forehead while Kim was talking.
Well, that and I think hope and faith could be a great tag team.
Yeah.
Because that's precisely what you said. You can hope for this and then have faith that it will all work out no matter what happens. Present moment stuff is always top of mind. And you cannot change the circumstance, but you can change your response to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're responsible for your response to it, basically, is what it comes down to. So that's how you can make each moment more for yourself and for those around you, ultimately. There was something else that I wanted to speak about, though. I think one of the other things, I don't know if you've ever heard of oh my God, I lost it. Mindfulness, but it's essential mindfulness. No. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. But it's basically one of the phrases he starts with, which turned me on my head, was what would it be like what would you have if there were no problems to solve right now? And like your mind goes like, wait a minute, is that even possible? Because it knocks it on its head for a minute, and then you kind of can end up in this area of awareness is what he wants to bring you. So it's beyond mindfulness. It's to be, aware of your awareness. So that kind of puts you in perspective of this present moment is always very cool. There's nothing really going on that you cannot change your perspective to accept and adore ultimately. So I kind of like that. It's almost like, okay, here I am.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, that's an interesting thought experiment. Like if you're, for whoever's listening, if you were to think of what, on Thursday, just using that as like a focal point, and just if things went disastrously wrong, or it's not the way you want it to be because of the unique situation the planet's in right now, how could you search out the places where you can be grateful for what it is, So, and it's an interesting thing to think that way. I think you're right. A lot of times we're looking for the problems. We're looking for the things, like we get a little, wait a minute, what do you mean there's no problems? That's a really, really interesting one. We don't trust that. Something's got to be, this is going too well, a lot of times it like sets off our warning bells.
If your ego is, he describes a lot of people describe your ego as a problem solver. That's its job. Mm-hmm. So if it can't find one, it will seek one out. And I've done that in the middle of the night, like, oh, everything's fine. Oh no, wait a minute, it's not.
That's where ignorance is your friend. Okay.
Often.
Ignorance being bliss, and then your refusal to be made unhappy. But the whole notion of the Buddhists kind of talk about the easy way to a life that works is to answer every question yes. The answer to any question is yes, always. So when you're feeling dissonance and it feels like a no, there's nothing out there to be changed. The only thing to be changed is internal. So when you're talking about, how you can experience and create this situation, and you have to do it mentally, what if there were no problems to solve? Well, what if whatever happens is perfect? No matter what it is, it's perfect. It's what's happening. Mm-hmm. This is perfect. Doesn't work, but it's perfect.
And that's why it works.
Exactly. And this is what the world looks like when it's working. Okay. It doesn't conform, to your aspirations and wants and desires and all the rest of that. And we look at a future through a telescope and not through a big picture. It's not a 65-inch screen, if you will. We're looking for a narrow set of outcomes, as we were talking earlier, and in how we focus, and we may or may not miss out on a whole lot that's actually going on, because the attention is on what did we want to see happen. And in many cases, you didn't even know you wanted to see that in particular happen, but something isn't happening the way that we're hoping for. And so, for example, what you just said, well, what if there's no problem to solve? How long can a human being sit with that? How long can a human being sit with any question? So kind of the whole area of mastery is to be kind of interested in yourself. And one of the ways to look at it is the unimproved self, the one that's here, the one that you defend, the one that's your ego and your ID and all the rest of that stuff. That's a small s self. The work that you put in to condition and train and understand your understanding, to listen to your own listening, and to speak in such a way that you can actually hear yourself, that self starts to get a capital S, which makes it a proper noun. which actually means it's not like, a boy versus Bill. It's, Bill is a location in time. Bill is this, expected and unexpected set of outcomes in any situation. A boy is nondescript. A boy is kind of like the generalness of hope. But when you get specifically into being unattached, like that's a good thing to do, Ken? Being unattached is a good thing?
Yep.
Yeah. No, see, all this has to do with, if you listen to all the definitions and distinctions you possibly can, each thing is only going to return you more information about yourself. You don't have to believe any of them. You don't have to put them in competition with each other. Maybe what they are is they're part of a 10,000 piece jigsaw puzzle that you are over a lifetime putting together in such a way that there is no possible way of predicting what image is going to show up in the jigsaw puzzle. And after a lifetime, being comfortable with putting pieces together as they come or don't come, but having some sort of a construct like, I'm actually having some say-so here in terms of experiencing what's happening right now as perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're talking possibility. I don't live this way, but I do like having this to fall back on when I'm wondering what the hell just happened to me, A lot of head nodding.
I just wanted, it's effortless mindfulness is what I was trying to say. And then the gentleman's name is Locke Kelly, L-O-C-H Kelly.
Say some more about that, Lisa, because, mindfulness has many, many different definitions depending on what reading you've done or who you've listened to. And in this particular area, what is he speaking to about mindfulness and the distinguish, between effortless mindlessness and some other kind of non.
Yeah, he tried to do the opposite of that, would be effortful mindlessness.
As in trying to be mindful.
He's an interesting character, but he does like all these hand gestures, which actually help you try to get to that point of awareness.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool that, but he's studied Buddhism. I mean, he's an expert in mindfulness to begin with, and then he went a step further by going throughout the world to study different people's idea of mindfulness. But mindfulness to him is like being in a cloud, meditating, and then rising above it and looking down. His effortless mindfulness is not only, but knowing that to go above, below, around the cloud so that you see the cloud, and then you can interact with the cloud. You can go below the cloud. You're just awareness. You're pure awareness. So everything is fine. Like we were saying, there's nothing your awareness can't handle because it's timeless and it's not physical. So it's kind of cool to be in that space. I mean, you have to watch his videos because he's kind of cool. Like, here you are in your little mind.
Yes.
Right now, let's travel down to the heart. He's got all different ways that he calls them glimpses of gaining glimpses. It almost reminds me of, those 3D books that were really popular for a while where you had to take your eyes and do a soft focus to see the 3D image. It almost feels like that. And it's also something that makes me very tired or makes me want to throw up because it's a different physical feeling. And somebody said, that's probably what happened when they, when people first started going on airplanes, and that's why there were all the barf bags there, because people weren't used to being in that kind of atmosphere, and it would affect them physically. And I said, yeah, because you don't see people throwing up that much anymore, but it was part of it when we were first flying. Kind of interesting. But anyway,
that's kind of cool. I know from things that were shared with me, the view is everything is a statement you hear a lot. And you're right. It's uncomfortable to be stretched, like to have your view challenged, because, when you're in that little mind, the I space, you're identifying with your view, like your view is you, and it isn't, unless you decide to see it that way. But what a difficult thing when you're, so yeah, all of a sudden you've never seen the world from more than a few feet above it, and now you're 25,000 feet in the air looking down at it. That just stretched you. So that would make perfect sense that it would create a physical response, because they talk in Buddhism about the three treasures, mind, body, spirit, and how these things are all, they're when they align, we're in a good space, and when they're not, there's going to be some kind of discomfort, dis-ease, with that feeling. So, I like that.
Yeah, the really interesting thing that I took away from that, Lisa, is the whole idea of a fifth and sixth sense having to do with your relationship to all of it. That the five senses that we have, when they're fully engaged and there's enough information coming at all five of them at the same time that it feels like a fire hose, the only thing that can come after that is relief. The only thing that can come after that, whether it's a good feeling fire hose or a bad feeling or some other thing altogether, the only thing that can come is once that's subsided and you rise to wherever you are, above, below, outside, all of these things are contextual in language. Being able to experience them is like trying to hug the Empire State Building. It's so we are at the top of our half hour. I'm loving this conversation. Shall we pick this up on the other side?
Sure thing.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in. We will be lighting the candle. A World That Works very shortly again. And thank you.
You've been listening to Lighting the Candle, A World That Works, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can hear us at exvadio.com/podcasts, Apple Podcasts app, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts.